Um, Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon. We're going to get started with the OAD special session. We would have loved to start at 4:30, but sadly, we had 2 minutes of our time. Okay, we didn't try and be punctual, okay? Welcome to the OAD special session. I am Dr. Joy from UAD. So you guys hear me online? Can the people online hear me? Please give a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, yes, they can hear us online. I am Dr. Joy.
Yes, we can hear you, Joyful. We can hear you.
Thank you, Bonaventure. And I will be facilitating the session today. So to get us started, we have our director, Kevin Gavenda, who will give us a welcome and opening remark. Kevin?
Hi, everyone. Joyful, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending this session. I don't see the audience, but thank you to those people online that I can see and those people in. Okay, there we go. I see the audience. Thanks very much for attending this session. I regret not being there in person today, but I will see you from Wednesday. So my colleagues will describe the work of the OAD in detail. So I'll only use this space to say a big welcome to you all and focus on saying thank you, because I think the Office of Astronomy for Development has grown, and we are now with a very strong team locally and globally. So thank you first to Joyful for driving the session and for the rest of the team for their support. A big thank you to the IAU, the International Astronomical Union, and the National Research Foundation, because it's their collaboration that gave rise to this office. But most especially, I think, to say thank you to the Department of Science, Technology, and Innovation for their visionary support for this activity, which has really placed South Africa and Africa in the international spotlight in terms of coordinating astronomy for development globally. The OAD has one simple ambition: to use astronomy for a better world. And I didn't see if Patricia Whitelock was in the room, but I should acknowledge that this was a phrase that she came up with as part of the first sort of oversight committee of this office. And this ambition has held through in the almost 14 years that the OAD has been around. But that ambition alone is not what makes it such a special place. The OAD has always been fortunate to have an incredible team of people, from our central coordinating team in Cape Town and our remote fellows abroad, to our 11 regional offices and their country coordinators, who you'll hear from some of them today, to all our institutional partners, and especially to our project coordinators all across the world. There's been over 200 projects that we've supported, reaching over 100 countries around the world. Over the years, this sort of OAD family has grown, but it's always been rooted in humility and respect, always recognizing the importance of putting people first. As some of our colleagues say, I still don't know who exactly to attribute this quote to. It's either Ram or someone else at the office who says that the OAD is about people, not the stars. And I would like to thank you everyone that's been involved in the OAD over the years, and really to invite anyone that has not been involved with the OAD to engage with us, to talk to us during this conference and beyond, and to work with us into the future. At the end of the day, we are in a time where, the world is unpredictable. There are things happening all the time, and at a faster and faster pace, both human caused events and natural events in terms of our climate, which also human beings can take responsibility for. How do we, as the astronomy community, engage with these challenges that we face in the world today, whether it's conflict, whether it's issues of geopolitics shifting, whether it's issues of information? How do we, as the astronomy community, make a difference? How do we help to make the world a better place? This is what we grapple with every day at the OAD, and I would like to invite everyone to engage with us, to bring your ideas, to bring your skills, your partnerships, because OAD is a place where we can explore together how to use astronomy for a better world. So thank you very much.
So basically the aim of the session today is to basically highlight some of the impact that the OAD has had on the African continent. We will also hear from our regional offices that are based on the African continent, as well as language centers that support African countries. But importantly, we want to have an open discussion with everyone in this room in order for us to explore ways in which we can collaborate, work together, or how you can get involved either with the OAD directly or through our regional offices. So to get us started, we will have our Deputy Director, Dr. Charles Takalana, give us an overview of the OAD, and then followed by that, we will hear from our regional offices. Charles?
Thanks. Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, thank you for joining our session. It's always difficult to follow after Kevin. He sort of always says everything and summarizes everything real well, and I think he always does the justice to the work of our office. So what are we about, right? We are the Office for Astronomy for Development. We want to use astronomy to make the world a better place. We want to contribute positively to society. And we want to show that astronomers are just more than scientists. Astronomers are also people. And there's no better way to do that by using the science that we do to actually, make a difference in the world that we live in. I'd like to start with this picture, with Slow. So how did we get here? I don't think anyone ever asked ourselves, how did we get to the point that we do astronomy? And to me, I just always want to attribute it that it was humanity's obsession with taking a selfie. Right? And then I'll come to why I feel that this is why it is. We are a curious species as humanity, right? We like to push the limits of what we know. And in doing that, we've built, massive science infrastructure that does really amazing things, right? And what we see here is exactly that. I've got two images. I don't know if people in the room can see clearly. This is the pale blue dot image that was taken by the Voyager 1 spacecraft, and the other image is the Earthrise image that was taken by astronauts that were aboard the Apollo 8 mission. What does this picture tell us, right? To me, obviously, like I said, it's a selfie. We just wanted to see what we look like from someone. And obviously, we look great, right? But it represents two things to me. The first one is that we can build amazing things if we really put our minds to it. Like we can do really good stuff. Build the world's powerful radio telescopes, things that take us to space, things that can make us see, our universe when it was a baby. Right? But the other thing it shows us is that we are almost alone in that darkness of space. There is nothing, around us, almost nothing around us, right? We don't even know if we've got another alien species living somewhere, right? And so because we sort of ask these questions, it leads us to doing things with the science that we do. Like, for example, the work of this beautiful office, which is the OAD, right? We want to see how we can use astronomy to make the world a better place. So I'm just going to introduce our team firstly. Of course, we've heard from our director, Kevin Governor, then that's me. And then we've got Ramasemi, who's our operations manager, Noah, who's our office manager. Of course, you've seen Joyful Nduli, who's running the session so wonderfully, and Sam, who is in the audience that you'll hear from later this week, as well as Dominic as well, speaking on some of the work of our office. So firstly, before I talk about our office, we don't exist without the IAU. So we are an office of International Astronomical Union, and this is the body for astronomy, globally. And the mission of the IAU is to promote and safeguard astronomy in all of its aspects, and then this includes, doing research, communicating astronomy, and using astronomy for development, which is what our office focuses on. And of course, with that, the IAU is guided by its strategic plan. So we've got 5 offices, well, 4, and the other one is a center. So our office is the oldest of the 5. And that's the Office for Astronomy for Development. We've got the Office for Astronomy Education, which looks at astronomy education. Got the Office for Young Astronomers, which looks at training the next generation of astronomers. We've got the Office for Astronomy Outreach. We've got our Deputy Director, Naomi, who's from the office, and if you want to hear more about that, you can have a chat with them. We call them our sister office. We don't know brother or sister, but we'll figure out as we go. And then, of course, we've got the Center for the Protection of Dark and Quiet Skies, which looks at how we can preserve astronomy and our astronomical sites globally. So as I mentioned, that we are guided by the IAU strategic goals. We, looking at how we can promote, an inclusive astronomy community globally, looking at how we can promote, astronomy for development, looking at how we can use astronomy. We can also influence as astronomy teaching, and our science is also taught through, for example, the office through the Office for Astronomy Education, right? So this is just where some of the IAU offices are located. In the red, we've got all the IAU offices, and then in the small brown little pointers that you've got, that's all the regional offices of the IAU-OAD, and they're spread out different parts of the world, and some of them are also language centers spread out in these areas. Right, so why development and why astronomy? Right, as I think I mentioned when we started, that we would not be, a good neighbor to firstly humanity as a whole, and also to the science community if we're not looking at how we can use astronomy positively to actually impact on society. And one of the questions that we keep getting is, should astronomers be worried about development, or should scientists even be worried about development at all? If you look at some of the biggest technologies that have come out, they've come out because we've asked big questions, and by asking big questions, we've managed to come up with various solutions. And if we can use our solutions to address the challenges that the world is facing, then indeed we do have a place in contributing to the development of humanity. So of course you cannot do these things by yourself. You need partners, and that's why we work with all these partners. From places where our offices are based, and also from different parts of the world. So we've got a number of themes at IAU-OAD that guides the work that we do, and I'm just going to go through some of these and some of the flagship projects as well. For example, looking at sustainable and local socio-economic development through astronomy, and through this theme, for example, we've got Astrotourism, which Samyukta is going to be talking about later this week on Thursday, and then you can join that session. Also look at how we can produce material that can support these various areas that we are involved in and around the space of astrotourism. Looking at science diplomacy through astronomy and celebrating the common humanity, or our common humanity. And for example, under this theme, we've got astronomy for mental health, looking at how as astronomers and as the field of astronomy, we can contribute towards this big challenge that we face globally, with the large number of people that have got mental health issues. So Dominic is going to be speaking more about the work that he's doing with our Office of Astronomy for Development, and he's been collaborating as well with the Office of Astronomy for Outreach, and he's going to be speaking about this at the plenary on Thursday. In terms of skills development, I think some people would have heard this morning that we had the hackathon just before the AfAS conference. So we got the Hack for Dev initiative, which is an initiative that's a collaboration among various stakeholders that that work in our space, and we look at how we can transfer the skills of astronomy, such as computing and such as computing and sort of other data science skills into the common good for society. You can find out more about this. You can come and scan it. Put almost out of time, so I'll then move on to the last part of my talk, and that's going to be speaking about our call for proposals. So there is a bit of delay between the change of slides and them coming up. Okay, we've got our call for proposals, which is an annual call. Our next one is coming out in April. We look at how we can use any aspect of astronomy to address a challenge in society. And this is a call that anyone can apply to. You do not have to be an astronomer, but as long as you are using astronomy to impact society, in one way or another, you can apply to this call, and then of course, hopefully you can get some funding to implement whatever project that you'd like to implement in your area. And with that, I think this is just some information on the call for proposals. As I mentioned, it's opening in April, and we also encourage multidisciplinary teams to sort of apply to this call to sort of also see how other sciences along with astronomy can contribute to society. And with that, I just leave this picture up, which is the picture of the team taken by Uzile. And it's really amazing to work with people that, have got, the same passions that you have. And the passion that resonates within the team at the IAU-OAD is that we want to make a difference in the world. And thank you.
Thank you, Carl. So Ram will actually give us more information and details about the call for proposals. So if you did have any questions about that, you can just wait till towards the end of the session. I don't think there are any questions for Charles, but if there are, we'll just take one question because we'll have an open discussion and we want to save as much time with discussion as possible. So do we have a question for Charles? Okay, great. So no questions. So our next speaker will be hearing from the East African Regional Office of Astronomy for Development, and Alan Meyer will be speaking on that. We just need to pull out your slides, but you can start saying hi to everyone. Okay,
Nice.
yes, those ones.
Okay, thank you, Joyful, for the invitation. I'm representing one of the regional offices in East Africa. My name is Arami Imamu. I'm based in Addis Ababa, and my host institution that hosts also the East Africa Regional Office of Astronomy for Development is Space Science and Geospatial Institute. So I'll try to give highlights about the OAD supported projects and its impact. I already presented this one during IAU, but the session is the same. I'm also highlighting, and with this will be a little bit updates. So as Kevin said, also as Charles said, astronomy is for a better world, and we're working from the stars to the people. So with this motto, I'll try to give you highlights. Video, maybe. Oh. First half. You saw all the things, so I don't have anything to say. Okay. So here we start. Our office has been established in 2014. Here is some of the historical background. I think when the idea of OAD has been coming, so there are people who accepted this idea and endorse it. So we always thankful for these people. So these are our initial people who signed an agreement with OAD in 2014. So in the region, there are around 14 countries whereby 6 or 7 countries are actively participated. There are also regional representatives. These are our teams. So we have volunteers here, and on the right there is regional representatives from the active countries. We are not exhaustive, but this is our team. Maklitz, Kirubel, and the rest from East Africa regions. So what we do, as we have said, we are going to use or apply all technology and knowledge from astronomy to benefit the society. So in the first place, we are implementer of IAU strategies and initiatives, and also OAD's projects. So this is one of our objectives. Besides that, we coordinate and organize workshops, symposia in the region. We also give strategic advice, guidance, and dissemination of information, the resources into the region. We can also work, as Charles said, in synergy with OAD offices and also with IAU offices as well. We also try to strengthen the activities with frequent communications. And finally, we look for grants and fundraising to achieve some of our goals. So as a background, this has already been said by Charles. In East Africa region, especially focusing on OAD supported projects, so far around 33 projects has been funded in the East Africa regions in different sectors. As Charles mentioned, there are flagship teams on sustainable socio-economic development, on astronomy for mental health, science diplomacy, knowledge and skills, on these 3 flagships. So from these 33 projects, usually they are 25 are based on the East Africa region, 7 are in collaboration with outside East Africa. So these are some of the projects that we try to put in their frequency. I mean, there is at different years, we can see the number of funded projects there. So the focus area of most of the projects are on capacity building, church training, infrastructure development, COVID support, cultural and gender. So these are some of the areas where these projects were funded. And as you can see, the flagship type supported by projects is accordingly. So mostly it is capacity building is in the larger area. So I can see it in education, in gender equality and others. So this is some of the, to give you highlights where the projects are given. Okay, classifying based on their flagships. There are some examples, for instance, in the team 1, there is cultural astronomy. In this area, we have also projects that has been supported. These are actually almost the same. Even in the COVID, there is also projects that we have supported. In the flagship 3, mostly they are capacity building, church training, education, and gender were supported through the region. Why is it which computer is it? Are you? Okay. Okay. Okay, these are some of the examples or the highlighted projects that we have. Usually in the stimulating economics, we have Astrotourism and traveling telescope, Astrobus. These are some of the highlighted projects that we supported. Especially if I want to talk about Astrobus, it has been now for the third time. Once it has been supported by OAD, it runs by itself by looking for funds. Now this year we are going to run for the fourth time, for the fourth editions. Astronomy development in Tanzania, it is a multi-year project. It's still now sustained and continued. And some of the projects here as a community development, in different, for instance, in refugees and in education, Astro Science Ambassador of Education. These are some of the community-based, and this is the Astrotourism that the project has been funded. One of the person here in Kenya, from Kenya, have said about El-Misha, so it is a multi-year project, still now supported. Another one is Sci Girls, which also focus on educating girls, so it is also a multi-year project. So this has really produced an impact for girls in remote areas and for the girls in education and who are talented, but they don't have access for better education. And so this is to address inequality. As a science diplomacy, we have made projects that support, make awareness for policymakers, and also we support workers. So these are some of the highlights that we have for support by the project supported by OAD. In the terms of knowledge and skill, there are a number of schools and hackathons in Pan-Africa schools that has been supported. In technology transfer, we have also another like Astrolab, radio astronomy education and others has been also supported with the region. So what kind of impact this creates? 2 minutes, okay. So it creates economic and community development, global cooperation and equity, and education and technology advancement. So the impact that we have seen is in science education. It really creates an interest for STEM fields. There is engagement in community. There is also socio-economic development, and it's also a societal challenge. Even in the time of COVID, there is also a support. So what has been the lesson learned? Local context matter is very important. Inclusivity is the key. Education has to be integrated, and the multidisciplinary approach has to be taken into consideration. Community engagement is important. There is rich resource and clear guidance, especially in IAU and OAD websites. And there is also benefit of multi-year projects for sustainable development. These are some of the lesson learned. The challenges, there is always challenge. So there is lack of continuity. Once project is supported, it may not be continued. And sometimes different to differentiate the flagship project, whether it is education and outreach or is it developmental. The other is it's somehow challenging to measure the impact. So the impact has to be not directly measured, but it has indirect impact. So it needs continuous monitoring and evaluation. So as a recommendation, the flagship project design has to be tailor-made or regional based. We should have to focus usually for those which can engage community like Astrotourism. And policy advocacy has to be there always, because without the policy makers, such kind of projects will want to be implemented. There has to be a public-private partnership, and to know the impact, monitoring and evaluation has to be in place. I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Just to actually highlight one of the challenges you mentioned is people differentiating between whether it's education, outreach, or development. So we're hoping that this session will actually make it very clear what the Office of Astronomical Development is focused on as compared to outreach and education initiatives. So do we have questions for Lamia? one question, and then we can just discuss more during the open discussion. Any questions? I don't see anything online either, so, oh, okay, there's one question at the back over there, right behind you.
Thank you, Alamiyu. It's nice presentation. I want to focus, like, can you explain what kind of project are you expecting? The point that you should also rise, like to differentiate the outreach and education. So, like, what kind of project are you expecting more, the outreach or the education?
Actually, such kind of differentiation is difficult, but OAD website, it is clearly differentiates there what is supposed to be classified in outreach and education, what activity or project is going to be classified as OAD supported project. So I think it's better to refer the OAD whole project proposal website. But besides that, I think we should have to discuss more and know which one is which. Sometimes it's difficult because it also covers the knowledge area. So usually the knowledge is not coming simply, but through education and through outreach. But yeah, it's challenging sometimes, but the office has already put what they want in the website.
Yeah, I mean, like, what OAD is looking for, only outreach, like, or both? Like, can you?
No, these things has their own leaders, like OAO, Office of Astronomy for Education. These are supposed to are established to run such kind of activities. So all these things should align with these offices.
Yeah, so basically the OAD focuses on projects that focus on development. And then if you have outreach related things, then we refer you to the Office for Outreach. And if you have education related initiatives, then we refer you to the Education Office. We'll just take one last question, then we'll move on to our next speaker.
I would like to know what he has done about measuring the impact and what advice can give others about measuring the impact.
Actually, so after our regional offices, we will have a talk that talks about the impact of these funded projects. So maybe after that, if your question hasn't been answered, you can ask it again. Thank you. Okay, so next up, we will hear from our West African regional office, and guessing Bonaventure will be giving the talk.
Yeah, I will.
Emeka, okay,
Yeah.
Okay, Emeka, I hadn't seen you earlier. Emeka will
Okay.
be giving the talk for us. If you could please just share your screen and then you can get started. You have 10 minutes.
Just a minute. I hope my screen is visible. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and see your screen.
Okay, so I will just present in a brief the recent activities at the West African Regional Office of Astronomy for Development. My name is Emeka Onyuwoma. I just resumed as the regional coordinator for West Africa from Dr. Bonaventure Okere. Okay, so this is a brief about the West African Regional Office. It was established in 2015. We are located at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Let me see. So you can see where we are. This is a brief of where we are. So this is where our observatory is presently. And we've done our first review in 2020, and we are on our second lap of hosting. And currently, there are 16 countries in West Africa, of which about 13 of them have been identified with WAROD, including Cameroon and Gabon, which are within the Central African Republic. So we are gradually expanding. Now, in recent times, we've hosted a couple of programs that cut across West African, region, and one of them is with the North American road, the Geneva Lake Astrophysics and STEAM. We hosted a program with them, which has been on training the young astronomers on how to do remote observation and also reduce data and what have you. And currently also, I am at the University of Leiden. We are implementing one of our mobility programs with OAD and also strategizing ways on how to make astronomy, strategize on how to implement our business plan and also focus solely on astronomy for development. So there are a couple of other programs we have implemented. The Astrotourism project using the concept of Blue Dot, which OAD funded. We've done that on 2 occasions. And we are also part of the Fast for Future and PAPSIN collaboration, which also involved SAROD and EROAD. So a brief on our recent activities in the last year. I don't want to go too far. Like my Timothy presented the other time, he's part of my team, and we've been hosting citizen science project, the Vasco Science project, which involve the people from University of Stockholm and also NASA. And recently we hosted the Women and Girls in Astronomy, and which was an all-women affair just a couple of weeks ago. So it was quite an interesting program. So in the last time, we've been consistently hosting the Pan-African School for Emerging Astronomers since 2013, every 2 years. And the last one was hosted by Tunisia. So we hope to, by 2026, we hope to take it to another country. So it has moved around majorly the regions in Africa. We've hosted it in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Zambia, in Tunisia. So currently we are looking for a country that we volunteer to host the program for 2026. This is an excerpt from the one that was held last year in Tunisia. We also, like Timothy presented, this cascade astronomy outreaches. So was held both at the secondary and primary school level. So we also hosted the Star Horizon, I think sponsored by OAO. So it was conducted both in Nigeria and in Ghana. And a good number of other programs like the STEM Science Festival we had in October last year, on the 4th of October, which involved also an interaction with an astronaut from Sweden. So it was quite an informative program. Now we have challenges. We have challenges. We have the challenge of funding, paucity of fund, and most of our coordinators are individual people who also find it difficult to raise funds to conduct most of their activities, and also the challenge of the language barrier. West Africa is highly polarized. Some speak French, some speak English, so it has always been a bit of challenges, but then we are gradually surmounting them. Now, yeah, we have future plans. We want to focus more on astronomy for development, and we want to look at more on the cultural astronomy aspect of it. If some months ago, Ram linked us up with Professor Mike from Minnesota University, who is interested in documentation of heritage sites in astronomy. Already, we've done some background work on this previously to look at the cultural astronomy side. We've identified some of them in Nigeria. We've put off proposals earlier on to get them documented and designated as tourism sites. But our proposal couldn't fly, but I hope this time it's going to fly, because between 2025 and 2026, we hope to implement this with Professor Mike our startup point will be Nigeria and Ghana. So we are waiting for the funding to kickstart. And also, we don't have a West African Astronomy Society, which is on the pipeline. We want to form that association so that we can drive astronomy down to the public the more. Currently, we are discussing on possible ways of funding our activities so that we won't depend much on OAD. Already, we are discussing with Genevieve Marshall on how to identify some organizations that can also assist in funding some of these programs. And we hope that by the time we finish our stay at University of Leiden, it will materialize. And I have already mentioned, we are collaborating with the E-Road. Now, part of the thing we are planning on, because we are looking at our business plan and to see how we can implement the astronomy for development aspect of it. So we are rejigging the business plan. We are working with Pedro Russo to see how we can implement the business plan. So most likely by next week, we are going to come out with a comprehensive business plan that will involve all the West African participating countries on how to implement astronomy for development based on their comparative advantage, such that we may not really depend much on external funding. We can see how we can use what we have within our neighborhood to also raise some fund. So we hope to map out the cultural astronomy side and what have you. And also we are working on an intra-African mobility scheme. We want to apply for a grant that will help us sustain the PASI, because OAD has been funding the PASI for a long time. So we want to see how else we can sustain the Pan-African School for Emerging Astronomers. So we are working on a proposal that will incorporate most West African countries. At least we get them involved, and also we raise a fund through the EU Commission. So we are working on that proposal presently. So in a couple of maybe weeks, we hope to have gone far in that. Well, the Waro team is always at the forefront of astronomy in West Africa. We believe that we've made some giant strides. So, and those giant strides is our motivation for a better future. So we are open for collaboration, and we hope that we collaborate more with other regions on possible ways of driving home the business of astronomy for development. Thank you very much in day one.
So we will just take the one question that is online. I think it's asking about how you overcome the language barrier.
Okay, the language barrier is not yet fully overcome, but one thing interesting is that most of the younger generations who are within the Francophone speaking countries can understand a little bit of English, and there are also some of us who can, some like our coordinator in Cameroon, who can speak both languages. So it's a gradual thing that we are working on. It's not completely overcome, but the good thing is that most younger generation put in some efforts to understand English. Thank you.
Thank you, Emeka. So we will now hear from our Southern African Regional Office for Development.
Hi.
And Saul Puri will be giving the talk. It is the last one.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I think much to do with the background of OAD has been given. So in this talk, I'll really focus on the activities that we've been doing in the region, as well as what our future plans are. activities to do with the OAD as well as others that help to support some of the things that are OAD is trying to do. So, like this. All right, so I am based at Copperbelt University in Zambia, where the regional office is. So these are the countries in our region as the southern region, but we also have all SKA partner countries are part of SAROT, just to make sure that all the communication that we have regarding the SKA, they do not miss out. So you will find that some of the activities that have been said in other regions, we will also highlight a little bit. And then list of some cooperative partners, and I think it needs to be updated. I just noticed there are quite a number of them that have joined to help us operate in our region office. For myself. All right. So one of the major areas for our regional office is to make sure that we try to implement flagships that the OAD office has. And in terms of one of the flagship that's Hack for Development, most of the countries in our region have been participating, actively participating in these flagship programs. I won't go in detail because I've seen that there will be actually talks that will detail activities, but I would highlight that these countries in our region actually, they've had Hack for Development. And then we have these actually listed here. In this year, they will be actually having their own Hack for Development going on. And then in areas of Astrotourism as well, some countries within the region have taken a step further to at least lead. And we're looking at South Africa, Botswana, Ghana, Mozambique, that actually have taken some steps, and then other countries we hope to follow. But then there's this initiative that we came up with, and we hope in our next meeting, which is for the first quarter of 2025, we can now update each other. So the idea is to document cultural astronomy activities in each and every country of our region, and then see to it that this could help us now begin to connect and find ways in which how are they being done in one of these countries, and how can we help use that to address the issue of astrotourism and astronomy for mental health. One of the discussion that came up was to do with the issue of the traditional ceremonies. So there are traditional ceremonies which actually attract tourists, attract a lot of people, and how can we be part of those traditional ceremonies and be able to bring the aspect of astrotourism, and then maybe engage with activities that could in some way help in the issue of astronomy for mental health. And then the other part is calls for proposals. SAROT has participated, and in terms of last year, we had actually 15 projects, which covered quite a number of things within OAD, but then only maybe 1 or 2 of these got funded. But when we looked at them, we still have quite a number of them that are actually good. So the idea is how do we make sure that we come in and help to find some funding and begin to support some of these projects. So one idea now that we are trying to do is to sit down and see where these projects were proposed, how best can we engage partners, could be government, could be institutions, in which they could be supported. So that's one of the moves that we want to try and do. And then other than the direct OAD programs, we also have some of the projects that the office is actually engaged in. So to bring about the human resource development programs. So this is, I would say, one of the babies of OAD and Astrolab. So it's run in about 5 times or so. But the good news is that this year, actually, we have our Astrolab back, and it will be here in South Africa. So I always have an issue to pronounce, is it Pride University? Or, so a call will be out soon, but we expect to have this in August this year. And then another project that has been quite instrumental in the human resource development is the development in Africa with radio astronomy. Standing in front of you, I'm actually a beneficiary of that. So they do basic training, they do advanced training, as well as now they've introduced the postdocs as well as sabbaticals. And this was actually the annual networking meeting just 3 weeks ago here in South Africa. So most of the countries, so this is actually doing the SKA partner countries that actually participate in this project. And then another project that has come in terms of human resource development is the Pan-African Space Science Network, which is FAPSIN, that's sponsoring mobilities for students, MSc, PhDs, as well as staff mobilities to go and do some research in some of the institutions for 3 months, as well as admin exchange. Oh, okay, then you rush. All right, so another one of the projects that is here as well is the Fast for Future, which actually America had mentioned, and these 2 projects actually run in Sarod, Warod, and Erod. And last time we had actually a visiting astronaut who had to go through the South Africa, Botswana, and Zambia during the Space Week. And then there's also an initiative under SKA partner countries where there's installation of TAT telescope for training purposes. It has been done in Mauritius, Botswana recently, I think about a week or 2 weeks ago, and then Kenya. So next is Zambia, which will be mid-May, and then Ghana and Madagascar. Okay, as well, there are quite a number of outreach activities that are going on, and some of them you've been hearing here, so I'll just skip there. We have our own challenges. Each and every undertaking has got its own challenges and needs. So I think we have issues much to do with the funding limitations that we just indicated, and we may need to find solutions to that. Since my time is not much, I will skip some of them and then put up what our future plans are. So the aspect of documenting cultural astronomy is really ongoing, and we want to try and use it to see how we can address some of the OAD flagships. Then the Astrolab workshop is on this 2025 August. And then we want to try and encourage our members to continue. When the call is out, they still have to continue to apply. It's not like since only a few are being granted, then they have to stop. We will try to find other ways in which we can do some self-sustaining. And then I think, yeah, so we have submitted actually a new proposal for extension of PAPSIN. We hope we can be granted. And then some good news, Sarod, our southern region, will host ESA 2026. Zambia was awarded. Thank you.
Thank you, Saul. We will take one question for him before we move on to the next speaker. Okay, no questions is good news for us. So the next speaker will be from the Portuguese language. So we mentioned that we have regional offices, but in addition to that, we also have language offices that support people who may not be very strong in the English language. So we will hear from Vinicius, who is joining us online. If you could please share your screen if you have slides, otherwise you can just pin your face and we can look at you while you speak.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, we can hear you.
Let me share my screen. This is it.
We don't see it yet. Okay, it's starting to share. We see your emails.
Now it's correct.
Yes, now it's live.
The first one was emails.
Okay, fantastic. That's perfect.
Now it's perfect, I think.
Yes.
So, thank you, everyone. Thank you for this invitation. I'm very happy to be here. The payload, it's a little bit different the others colleagues speak before because we are not limited, but the idea of payload, it's specific the language, the Portuguese language. It means Portuguese language region for OAD. So the language barrier we don't have. Everyone speak Portuguese. Probably not the only language. Many countries has other language, but the Portuguese it's common for everyone. It means this is our mission, vision, values. It's very important for us. It's very important for anyone I know, and all this information it's available in our website. Of course, our website is in Portuguese because it's a Portuguese language, obviously. So the first idea, what's happening? Yeah. The first idea here, it's we have members in almost all the continents around the world. For example, in Africa, we have the representative from Angola, Cabo Verde, Mozambique, São Tomé and Príncipe. They are active members from each country of this. Sometimes we have one active member a long time ago from Guinea-Bissau, but for the last 5 years, no one in Guinea-Bissau is active in the payload. Of course, if someone in the audience know astronomer or amateur astronomer from Guinea-Bissau and can share this information for them, maybe it's a good idea. And I'm sorry, all the time I forgot this. My name is Vinicius. I'm from Brazil. I'm speaking from Brazil. All the time I forgot my name. No big deal. And I'm of the 3 coordinator of the payload. I'm this guy. The payload has, of course, in Africa, members in Africa, member in Brazil, member in Asia, in Macau. We have 3 representatives in different schools and university in Macau, and of course in Portugal. I was in Portugal until last year, and because that my image is here in Portugal, but now I moved back to Brazil. And this idea, maybe I can say our stronger point is be members in different cultures, in different place in the world. It's very strong for us. It's very important for us. And at the same time, it's our weakness because, for example, we can see in this image, the difference in time from Brazil and Macau, it's 9 hours. So sometimes to participate in the same time, people from Brazil and people from Macau, it's almost impossible because the time. So usually we did groups to make some activities, and because that I show you here only the activity where all the members participate during a year. Of course, each coordinator here has the liberty, has the own idea to make a, I can say, a region inner the region. I know it's not correct, but it's like this. That it's a micro region to take some activity locally, for example, in Brazil, or Brazil with Angola, or Angola with Mozambique. It's usually like this, and Cape Verde with Portugal, and so on. And talking about it, we have a pillowed agenda. It means the Lusophone constellation. It's a common agenda for all the countries. It's they are only 3 activities fixed all during all the year. It's the first one. It's the first one because we start with this, but of course it's not the first in the year. But we start with the November 10th, the World Science Day for Peace and Development, and we all the countries from Pilot take some activities. Usually, we take a discuss about astro tourism. The last 2 years, we talk about astrotourism. We show some experience about astrotourism in Brazil and Angola, and share this expertise with the network to reply another place. This is the first idea for this event in our agenda. Of course, the second was and is the February 11th, the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. It's a very important day, of course. And
Basura flower down the blows.
I'm sorry? Okay. It's not with me. Yes, okay, no problem. And we did the first time this day was coordinated by Brazil, and then last year and this year was coordinated by Cape Verde. It's a very important day because it's a way to show with to the girls, especially the girls in the school, it's possible to be a scientist, it's possible to be an astronomer, and so on. So the first idea of this is it's really talk about and show and some interview with the woman in science to inspire the girls in the school. And the other day, very important for us, of course, is the May 5th is World Portuguese Language Day. Of course, it's important because we are the Portuguese language of astronomy for development. So this day is important to talk about how important, how is useful speaking Portuguese directly, and show the information, show the popularization in science using our language, because we have many information in English, but in our country, some people speak English, but not at all. So it's important to not only translate the information, but create the information directly in Portuguese language. And this day is to celebrate this idea, to show this idea. The last year, for example, was coordinated by me in Brazil. I speak by the user of artificial intelligence to speak in Portuguese, because the first language for the AI is only on English, but now we have another language possible. In this case, in Portuguese is one of these. The idea of the pillow, the agenda, it's a variable coordination. Each day we have some coordination, and the others people, the others country work together. Sometimes we have initiative face-to-face, and sometimes an initiative online. All the time we try to use a hybrid because to use all the information, all our group in the around the world. For example, in Mozambique, start the next the last March 7th, the Astronomy at My School project, made by the Pilot Mozambique, named Detetives do Cosmo. It means Cosmo Detectives here in English. It's an astronomy club based in Mozambique, and they have information in YouTube and directly in the school, and create documents to popularize the information. I know I have 3 minutes.
Okay.
I know. I'm sorry. Let me see. Okay. We have many partnership. For example, last year I started a partnership with the CCL, the Science Center of Luanda. We are training the staff there. I'm here. And another partnership is starting now in the Pan-African Systems Science Lab 2.0. We have 2 members of Pilot working with this group to start a partnership with Cabo Verde. And I'm finished. Sorry again. Our communication, exclusive in Portuguese, of course. We have a website, pilot.org. We have many information. All this information I see here is there in Portuguese. And we have now a YouTube channel with some videos, all in Portuguese, but with subtitles in English. With anyone can see some information specific for these guys. And of course, if you have any question and any suggestion, you can send an email to me or directly to Pelot by the website. And this is it. A little bit more 10 minutes.
Do we have a question for Vinicius? Just one question. I don't see any hands up. So we will now move on to our last speaker for the session, who will hopefully also lead us to the discussion, the open discussion. Our operations manager, Sammy Benigopol, will tell us about the impact that the funded OAD projects have had on the African continent, and then also give us a brief overview of the call for proposals. Right? We can see a screen, and if you can say something.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Hello, everyone. Last presentation of the session, but like Joy said, hopefully we'll have some time for questions. There was a question earlier about what's been the impact of all this work, what's been the impact of astronomy for development, and I'll try to address that. See, okay. So just wanted to highlight a few concrete examples of what we mean when we say astronomy for development. Few of the other speakers have also listed examples, but these are examples specific to Africa. So one category of projects, if you can call it that, is on gender equity, how to promote gender equity using astronomy. So we've had projects that used astronomy and STEM activities and interventions to address the high dropout rates among girls in rural parts of Kenya. And then right next door in Ethiopia, we had, well, we still are funding this project, which is training girls and their female teachers from rural areas to be STEM ambassadors, so to give them an inspiring astronomy-based experience and sort of the tools to continue following their interest in STEM, as well as to inspire other girls in their classes, in their schools, to take up STEM, sort of be ambassadors themselves in breaking social barriers in getting into STEM. And then we have funded quite a few projects that again used astronomy as a source of inspiration and hope for people who are living in refugee camps and internally displaced camps. So as you may imagine, these are difficult places to live, especially if you are young, if you're a kid. Many of them do not have formal schooling. So our projects try to use astronomy to inspire these kids uh, to take an interest in education and also to bring solace and peace through astronomy activities. And then there's one in Nigeria, another interesting one which used an astronomy in a prison setting. So the project targeted inmates who were soon to be released back into society from prison. So they use the perspective provided by astronomy to try and help steer these inmates to be productive members of society when they come out. Another major category is skills development. Again, you've heard from previous speakers. We have funded quite a few projects, not only giving training on astronomy skills, but training on how those skills may be applied back to solving societal challenges. And I think a couple of people also mentioned Astrolab, which is a project that we have funded for quite a while. It's a astronomy-based training project that uses remote telescopes that you can access over the internet, in order to build critical thinking and capacity in how to do scientific research among students in Africa. And we are also running a series of hackathons, not just in Africa now, but all around the world, that are providing data science training, data science experience for postgraduate students now. Again, Astrotourism has been spoken about. So we've had a few projects in Africa that use astronomy in rural settings to stimulate local economic growth. One project in Tanzania is currently developing a curriculum that can be used to train guides and other people who want to add astrotourism as a sort of additional skill to their current work as guides, and a couple more projects in Botswana and Kenya, training different sorts of tourism audiences who want to include astronomy-based tourism in their portfolio. A quick word on the global grants program. So overall, since 2012, we have funded 240 odd projects now, and received more than 1,600 proposals. So that's 13 years of projects. We have invested through this global grant program about 1.4 million euros globally, reaching people in 112 countries. And of course, we have 11 regional offices. If you zoom into Africa, then it's about 87 projects out of 500 odd proposals. And we have invested about €500,000 in African projects, reaching people in 37 countries. And of course, you heard from the 3 regional offices. This is just to show the demand for the grant. So we've funded 1.4 million, but we have received the request for about 28 million. So it's a very small fraction that we've been able to fund. It just shows that there's a lot of people out there who are willing to volunteer their time in order to create change through astronomy. This is just a comparison of Africa versus the other parts of the world. So you'll see that we have funded the most number of projects in Africa, so Sub-Saharan Africa, and there's another North Africa and Middle East. So if you combine both, it's the largest number of projects that we have funded, but we have also received the most number of proposals from Sub-Saharan Africa. Looking at the countries that have been reached through the project. So these are not just the location of the interventions, but the nationalities of the people that have been reached by the project. So we've mapped out all the countries with people who have been reached through the 80 odd projects in Africa. So if you are in one of the countries that are in white, or if you know someone who's in one of those countries, please reach out to us. We would love to support interventions in one of these regions as well. So the OAD has several themes which are areas of focus. So looking at all the projects that we have funded, the 240 odd projects, the majority of the projects fall into the theme of knowledge and skills for development. So this is using knowledge, methods, tools from the field of astronomy towards development, including skill building, capacity building, and so on. And then the second largest is addressing inequalities. This would include projects, that address gender inequities, income inequalities, and so on, knowledge inequalities. And then we have stimulating economies, which is broadly astrotourism and related activities. And we also have a theme called science diplomacy, which includes our flagship project on astronomy for mental health. So looking at the impact of all these projects on development. So for development, we use the UN SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and mapping the results of these projects to the UN SDGs gives us this map. So most of the projects have influenced SDG 4, which is to improve quality education. Quite a few projects have addressed SDG 10, which is inequality reduction. Then we have SDG 9, which is infrastructure and innovation, and quite a few other SDGs, including SDG 16, which is to stimulate peace and justice and security. And if we can see if there's any other interesting ones, yeah, SDG 8 as well, which is to stimulate economic growth, which links back to Astrotourism, and a couple of others. Now coming to the call for proposals, Charles briefly mentioned it. So we have an annual call for proposals. Anyone anywhere in the world is welcome to apply for this call. There's only really two basic requirements, which is that your project must use astronomy and it must address a problem in society through astronomy. So that's a major requirement. And as Kevin said in his opening address, I just want to remind people that this is not about growing astronomy. There are other ways to do that, but the OAD's focus is on people and the planet. So just want to repeat that astronomy for development is not about the stars, it's about people. And we want to encourage interdisciplinary teams. I assume most of you in the room are connected in some way to astronomy. So we have the astronomy expertise, but we need the expertise of the people who work in the other field, the social sciences, the humanities, and so on. So if you're addressing real world challenges, we want to know that you are partnering up with the people and the organizations that have the experience on the ground working with these communities and so on. In terms of selection criteria, some of the main ones are looking at the challenge and the relevance of your solution. Does it use astronomy? How big of a challenge is it? What is the local context of the challenge? And then in your proposal, you must outline how you will use astronomy to create better outcomes for your target audience. For example, going back to the example of high dropout rates among girls in rural schools. So you should clearly show in your proposal how the astronomy intervention will reduce the dropout rates. And then deliverables, what are the actions and products and outputs that you're going to create out of your project. Then obviously you need to have a strong budget and timeline, and we hope that you have a really good interdisciplinary team for this proposal. So the next call for proposals will be launched at the end of April, so in just a few weeks from now. The total amount available for this round of proposals is about 80,000 euros. and you'll find more information at the link on our website. So towards the end of April, we'll open the application form on the website. We are also running what we call design workshops to help people design an astronomy for development proposal. So far, we have run a few workshops for specific audiences, postgraduate students, DARA participants, and so on. But we are able to run similar workshops for other groups. So if you're part of a university or association or some other group that's interested in astronomy for development and you want to understand better how you can apply astronomy to one of your challenges, consider contacting us. So ideally, there's about 20 to 40 people participating in the workshop. And then we can take you through the steps of designing a proposal. The astronomy for development is bigger than the OAD itself. The OAD has some money towards grants, but I hope that other institutions, universities, other government organizations are also willing to invest in supporting such projects. So you don't necessarily have to only apply for the OAD call. As you can see, it's highly competitive. We can only fund a fraction of the projects. So I would encourage you to talk to your sources in your own countries, in your own region, maybe other regions as well. Look for other sources of funding, and we can still help you design a good proposal that will have positive impact. And then when the call for proposals is launched, we'll of course have a separate webinar on how you can write a good proposal for our application. And that is it. How did I do for time?
Yeah, you took longer than expected you to, but thank you. So yeah, now it is an open Q&A. You've heard from our regional officers. You've also heard from Ram in terms of the annual call for proposals. So do we have any questions from the room in terms of the OAD itself, the process of how to apply for funding, or just maybe just understanding what astronomy for development is in general? We have a question right there, that I.
Yeah, I would like to repeat the question I asked before about how do we, at the end of the project, how do you later show that you have achieved your goals? For example, if it is addressing quality education, there has to be a timeline that after this, I can really show that for 13 years of running this, the education has improved. So I have a challenge in this, and I would like to be helped on how to address such issues. Because sometimes you present something, and the politician will ask you, so what shows? It is not easy to answer.
Ram, that is a question for you.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Can you summarize?
Can you just move closer to me? But then basically what the question, I'll repeat it, it's fine. But what he's basically asking is, how do you basically show the impact? Like, for example, when you're doing a project that addresses inequality or educational related things, what kind of impact do you show after you run that activity or that initiative? How do you do that?
So ideally, for large-scale projects, you would have proper evaluation designed as part of the project, but most of our grants are small grants, so we don't expect you to carry out a full evaluation, but rather what we do is we, at the beginning of the project, before you even start any activities, we work with the project team to co-design a metric on which your output or success will be measured, right? Like I said, we are all about the outcomes. We are less concerned with how you achieve the outcomes. We're more concerned with what the outcomes are. So if you're saying, I'm going to reduce inequality, I'm going to tell you to be more precise than that. So are you saying that you want to, I don't know, can you put numbers to it? Can you say, I'll reach 200 people, and then my outcome will be that 50% of these people will have some sort of relative better outcomes compared to some other control group. So we always try and make it as precise and measurable as possible before you even run the project, because without that, there's no way to tell what impact your project has had. You can claim, like you said, anyone can claim anything, and there's no way to measure it and say yes or no to it.
Was your question answered? Okay, yes, you can pop in at our exhibition booth later or maybe throughout the week, and then I can try to get in touch with them and you guys can discuss further. Okay, and then the gentleman next to you has a question as well.
Yeah, it's actually a follow-up,
Okay.
right? The idea is that if you have other sources of funding, for instance, not exactly from OAD, but those funding sources need you to be able to demonstrate, right, that if they fund you, you'll be able to achieve what you've said. So the problem usually with these activities, like trying to achieve quality education, and it takes a long time, but how do you measure that? I think OAD probably has some experience, right, with this and how they interact with politicians to be able to get this funding. This is we want to understand how you do operate, right? So that we can actually pick that as a leaf to get funding elsewhere.
Ram, did you get that, or should I try respond to it?
I got more. Is this the same person? Is it a different question?
No, it's someone sitting right next to him. I think they
okay.
Yeah, but he was just trying to follow up on what the first person had asked.
Yeah, look, it's up to you as a project team or the coordinator to design those metrics, because our projects are so diverse, we can't impose a single system on all projects. That's the whole reason we help you to design these metrics and measures and so on. And again, I understand in the real world, it's difficult to measure many things, but it's also possible to measure many things. So, for example, I've heard it's not, it's impossible to measure, I don't know, how well your project has done on reducing, on improving teaching outcomes. Let's say you run a teacher training or some sort of classroom activity, and then your stated outcome is to improve grades in physics or grades in STEM subjects. So that's obviously an easy thing to measure, but there's also other sorts of related outcomes that I argue will be more interesting to measure, such as how the students' attitude to STEM has changed, because at the end of the day, we are targeting social challenges. And I think we need to be aware of how the social is linked to what may appear as a challenge. So the challenge that you and I see on a daily basis is the reduced grades or bad grades among kids, but it could be due to a number of reasons. So I think it's very important that early on in the design phase of the project, we try and figure out what the actual challenge is, you dig deep, and that will help you also during the evaluation phase of the project.
Okay. And then also just to add on to that, like you said, the OAD gives a very small grant, but then if you are getting funding from government institutions and bigger organizations, and the budget does allow, you can actually get someone to do the monitoring and evaluation of your project itself, and that maybe they would be able to assist in terms of actually measuring that impact that the government wants from you to start with. So we are actually running out of time, so we'll take 2 last questions, and then we'll wrap up the session. Where's the third one? Cool. Guys,
Thank you.
okay, no, we'll take,
Mine is directly related to what was just said, so.
oh. Oh, okay. No, I just want to add on what Aaron was saying, just to assist that guy. So when you are running a project, it depends how long the impact is gonna be in your project. More especially when it comes to development or something like inequalities, it takes a long time, but you need to specify that it's gonna take a long time. And also for if you have to answer in some bodies like politician and all the stuff, you need to explain them that this project is not gonna give you the results just for now. It's gonna take a long time. Some they take 4 to 5 years to see the results. So it's very much important to communicate that so that they can have the understanding. More especially when you're reducing the inequality, it takes a little bit longer, but at least about 4 to 5 years, you will see the difference. That's how it's gonna be.
Thank you. My name is Linda Straba, and I am an educational consultant for astronomy and physics. And one of the things I do is external project evaluation. So I'd be happy to talk to you guys and anybody else that's interested. One thing I thought I'd mention is that the evaluation process is not just for funders and government organizations, it's also for you. And it's not just something that happens at the end of a project and the beginning, as Ron has been emphasizing. It happens throughout to give you information that can help you to improve your project as you go along. So it's not just the outcomes, but it's also formative. And it can be driven not just by the outcome you want, but by the questions you have. So it can be, you'll find out these outcomes, but it's kind of driven by what is it that you want to know that will help you to make informed decisions through your project. So if anybody would like to talk more about project evaluation, obviously talk to Ron, but I'd be delighted to speak to you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, so yeah, no, we 5 minutes after 6 and there's one other special session happening right now. So we're going to wrap up. I just want to make 2 short announcements. So on Thursday, the 27th, we will have Dominic, who will be speaking on astronomy for mental health, astronomy, outreach, and mental health. And then we also have Sam, who will be talking a bit more about our flagship project, Astrotourism. So both sessions are on Thursday. One is a plenary, and then the other is in the afternoon session under the EEO sessions. And if you want to engage more with us, we do have an exhibition booth. Otherwise, if you bump into us in the corridors, just stop us, and then you can ask as many questions as you like. Charles, can you please thank everyone for attending?
Yeah, I mean, just like to thank all of you for coming to the session. We really appreciate it. And I think that some of the things that we discussed, are really important. And I think, one of the things I was thinking about is just like, we need to sort of see how we can, in terms of the project and then if we get funding, how can we make them actually look more appealing and more sustainable, right? And the other thing is also that we need to be realistic. I think Makumalo said that you need to be realistic, for example, in terms of your timelines as well. You say, how is this thing really going to happen in the time that you're planning? Because sometimes you can be very excited about a project and think that everyone's going to be excited about it when they kick off, and it doesn't do that. But we've got a whole network of people that are gathered here in the room today. We've got resources like Ram, for example, and all the experience that he has that can contribute to us to actually make our project more stronger and to take our mandate forward. So with that, thank you all for coming. Joyful, thank you so much for chairing the session. I think you did a fantastic job. And thank you to all our speakers. And yeah, see you next time.
Thank you so much for your time. I think this is the last one in this session, so you can end the Zoom.
Okay. So did you stop with that?
or